Heart Warriors, welcome back to another show. This one's going to be rad. This one's going to be totally, brutally honest. And this is Heart to Happiness, reminding you guys that the project this is all about is that the way to your heart is through, or the way to happiness is through your heart. I'm recording today at my family's house. It's a Mother's Day weekend, so I don't have my normal heart, but I do have this heart that I made for my mom 10 years ago for Mother's Day that says, "Mom, thank you for always believing in me. I love you." So this is happiness right here. Don't have the standard heart that I've been using for my little emblem to kick this off. So anyway, I'm at my family's house. I am in my heart. I'm pretty much 95% myself, I think, because I'm on the other line with someone I just met. So there's always that little 5% degree of, I'm not sure who I am around this person. So I'm sure within about 10 minutes, I'll be at 99% myself. So Daniel, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. As you were talking about happiness, I looked down at this leftover chai tea that Deanna was drinking earlier. And just to be extra cool, can you see that?
No way.
It says the art of happiness is to serve all.
So that was just totally ironic that you just drank that. That was her tea?
Some would call it a synchronicity. A synchronicity.
Tea. I love that. Versus insanity, right? The opposite of sick, what you just said. That's rad. So guys, the reason why I brought Daniel here today is because ironically, he's sitting in the corner. Nobody puts Daniel in the corner, but he is currently with his synchronicity. I asked JP Sears, who's one of the ones I'm kicking this off for Heart to Happiness. I asked JP Sears, I said, I need someone who is just going to say it like it is. I need someone who is totally raw, who is impeccable with their word, who is radically honest, and who wants to get down and dirty with how we talk to ourselves with words, the literacy of words, and really like, how do we chase our dreams? How do we really just break through? And he went, yeah, the perfect man. I've got him for you. So he sent me his information. I stalked him a little bit. I saw some really beautiful topless pictures of he and his brothers, 3 beautiful, amazing hunks of men who are probably more beautiful on the inside as they are on the outside. They're the bras. And this is, Daniel, you're the oldest. Is that right?
Indeed.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to do a little intro, and this is not even your words. This is someone else's, I believe. A modern day alchemist helping us turn our perceived obstacles into stepping stones toward the gold we really seek. You have an impeccable way of seeing your gifts to the core root of what they are and facilitating your own process of expressing them in the best possible way. And today you're going to inspire us to believe that the world deserves to receive our gifts. And what's more is that we deserve to cash in on our passions such that we can give more to ourselves and those around us. Hence the little tea trick that you just brought out, right? Now, Daniel.
That was really good. This is a good pre-warm up, like pump up. But I'm really feeling good about what you just said.
Awesome. Well, it's just coming from the heart, right? That's where it's all supposed to come from, not our bicep.
I'm also feeling a bit pressured in the sense that I was like, because of those things that you said, like honesty and being impeccable with your word, I'm like, wow, these are things I really hold to such a gold standard. You know, when someone holds something to be very sacred to them, sometimes they're their biggest critic. So I'm thinking like, I was already going down the rabbit hole of obsessing. Like, what if I wasn't honest yesterday about that? Like, what can I confess right now?
Right. I know. But that's liberating, right? So I now refer to what you just said as we're shoulding all over ourselves. Like, I should have said that. I should say this. And it's like, whoa, we're on our head. So let's drop back into our heart. So you guys have a big mission. And right now I know that you're writing a book. It's called Breaking Normal. You lead retreats all around the world. I see your pictures on Facebook and Instagram where people follow you. You literally have these, images, and they're not just false images. They're images of you traveling the world, living your dream. You could have been a lawyer, a doctor. You could have been anything that you wanted to. You're extremely intelligent. You're radically honest. But yet you're traveling the world teaching people to follow their dreams. And the pictures behind you look like they're photoshopped of you, chilling in these beautiful glaciers and waterfalls. And you have a beautiful wife and you have a happy family. So your struggle was, you probably weren't always this way. So I want to know a little bit more about what brought you to where you are and what kind of mountains you had to climb to get here.
Oh, well, I did want to interject one thing. I was highly wondering, can you be radically honest and a lawyer or a doctor?
Dude, such a great question. Such a great question. Like, you can't be. No.
I don't know. I'm not sure if I was questioning. I'm like, I'm not sure if that part's true. If I could be radically honest and a lawyer and a doctor.
Yeah, no.
I might be. I could begin the career. I'm not sure how long it would
Yeah, I know, right? I don't know if you'd get hired or fired more for doing that.
I do think what everyone will evolve the more butt they kick rather than kiss.
I love that.
So your question is what?
How did you get here, man?
Yeah, I think part of it is realizing I haven't gotten there or here. I'm here, and this really embodying the idea, and really not only believing it but practicing that the journey is the destination, and that like we've arrived, that we are here, we are always here, and that this is it. This is it. Like we have these cool human suits that are like more advanced than any technology in the world that and now we're living in a time where we can actually speak into this device that probably has some sort of crystals and all other kinds of technology, and other people in the world millions of people can hear it live as I do it. And I think 1,000 and 2,000 years ago, some would claim that was a sign of the divine, or that was witchcraft, or that was a fairy, like that's a fairy tale and that will never happen. Like we need to incarcerate this person. They've smoked too much of that plant or did too much of this stuff. And I think to realize that and feel what that feels like, to like, wow, I'm here. This is it. This is the dream of life. I'm like awake. Oh my goodness. Like, what else do people want? Like, I think I sometimes think that people want more than they actually want to get. So it's like this perpetual thing of like,
I want that to sink in. Say that again.
I think sometimes there's a reality for myself and others, and at least maybe more a part of my past self, that people want more than they want to get.
What's that all about?
That's a great question. And I think it has something to do with our some sort of innate drive for evolution. Because by wanting and desiring, then that leads us to maybe growing and evolving and tapping into capabilities that before, if we were, because being completely satisfied and apathy are a bit of it's a slippery slope. Like sometimes I imagine some of the most philosophical geniuses, people that have tapped into some of the deepest levels of infinite intelligence and divine brilliance, are walking a tightrope of some maybe like deep depression or insanity. Yeah. So these are those overwhelming concepts sometimes to consider, like, is being satisfied, when does being satisfied mean being apathetic?
That's it right there. There's this tightrope between being too complacent versus wanting more for yourself and wanting to grow. So I guess there's a question in there of, is it for the mind or is it for the heart? And where's that balance? And how do we know if we're doing it the wrong way?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I was just doing a little video about the topic of one of the best questions. I'm answering a question a day while I'm at JP's place. He suggested I do that since we're coaching each other along with our careers here. But I was really wanting people, if you're going to perpetually ask yourself any question, I imagine a great one would be, how can I love you better? Like, how can I love you better in this interview? Like, I just met you. I don't know much about you, but how can I love you the best I can? Do you have any ideas? And like, seriously consider that question. So I don't have to actually ask it to you, but sometimes actually asking it helps too. Maybe that catalyzes something. Because like, really at the bottom of my heart, when I think about a loved one passing or that has passed, like, all I really wanted to do with that person is love them the best I can do. And I want to make sure while people are alive in front of me that I'm doing that. And even if it's someone, especially if it's someone I don't agree with, because then that might start waking up some people collectively. Because a lot of people are under this spell that they think that they have to surround themselves with people they agree with only.
That's boring.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. It seems to be a reality for some, but I think how can you make sure you're not going wrong? I think as long as you accurately and like really honestly ask that question and answer that question continuously for yourself and others, you're going to be on like the right path. I guess, I imagine that's the closest to it. Or one of the closest ways.
It is. It is. I love that one of the biggest things that you embody is that that to go all in, you do so with yourself and with others. And going all in means being like your shirt says, to be real. And so one of the things that I noticed when I've interviewed, and you're the 24th, you're my final interview. Ooh.
Oh, nice.
We ended on the best note.
The best for last, to realize everyone was the best.
Yeah, right. We ended on the most real note because your shirt says it. But what I noticed from everybody is that your shirt is the consistent message to be happy, is to just be real. So in my summary of what everybody has said in these interviews is that the most happy people are the most real people, and the ones that love others the most and love themselves the most. So if you could define happiness, how would you define it for yourself, and how would you interpret it for other people?
That's a good question. And what you said was very inspiring. I'm imagining you're in a very inspired place. I now that it's really sinking in for me that you just interviewed 24 people on, what was the exact topic? Was there what's the overlaying theme between them all?
It's like I said when I first started this episode, is it's using our heart to get to happiness versus, like right now, millennials, let's just say, for example, younger kids, this generation sees that they were surveyed by Stanford, and they think that 80% of happiness comes from money and 50% comes from fame. And, other studies that they've done, that money in excess of $70,000 earned per year isn't bringing us any more marginal happiness. So we have this, false idealism that happiness is brought on by money, by fame, by posting selfies of us that aren't even our real selves, and getting, gratification from false identification. And so and then of course it's easy remedies for unhappiness. Take this antidepressant, go drink, go do heroin, and if you don't deal with your unhappiness, then you digest the dissatisfaction of your life, and it turns into disease and cancer, and you die, like my aunt did a couple of months ago. So I've seen this perpetually. People are running from their depression and they numb it. They're also running from joy, because they know that on the other side, and this is a new thing, if I experience joy, then I'm vulnerable, that I'm connecting with someone else. And then therefore on the other side of that would be potential depression, because something's got to fall, what goes up must come down. So it is, what is happiness truly, so that people can seek the right things that are more permanent, that are easier to recruit, and that are not so transactional in nature.
That's I really appreciate you for kind of sharing that, and a recap of a lot of what you went over. And a lot of it I agree with, and it's really inspiring and resonant with me. And a lot of it not a lot, but some of it I did not agree with. And
cool.
Part of it for me, being happy and being real, is when someone says something to me, especially if it's directed towards me, I want to be clear of that I may have not bought into everything they just said. Now, if I did, I want to tell them that too. Mm-hmm. But what I see a lot of times in communication, and I think that because the word becomes flesh, and you can look at that in how many other spiritual texts you want to, but let's just say that a lot of people that I judge to be very tapped into the realest of the real were very vigilant about how they consciously communicated, and realized the power of their words, that realized that maybe right now I am writing the book of my life by what I'm saying, or I'm creating the script of my movie by what I am saying about myself and others in the present tense, and to consider that others are like, maybe I'm a potential combination of everyone else I see, just not to believe this, but these ideas, and to realize that we're on the same team, and how I speak to them or how I think about them is how I speak to myself and how I think about myself. And if I think there's something wrong with them, it's probably there's some kind of, let's just put it this way. My dad always told me, when I have a problem, when you have a problem, you're the problem.
Yes.
So to realize that also, in addition to that what others say about you and what you say about others, listen to what's being said, and listen to what's not being said, and most importantly, feel what's being said. And if someone says something to you about how the world is, and you just bobblehead yes, like this. I call it like the BHS, like the bobblehead syndrome. Like I constantly see people speaking, one saying things that the other person right afterwards is probably going to like turn their head and like snicker and be like, what a bit, you know, that was so full of shit. You know, they have some story that they want, but in the meantime, they're just like this, unconsciously accepting that truth, like into their, in my opinion, potentially somewhat into their body. Like I think even more impactful than the words we speak are the body language. And that some of the most powerful words are the simplest. So I think the most powerful phrase is I am, and whatever you say after I am. The next would probably be no. Next would probably be yes. These are the most powerful words. In the meantime, you know, you have people paying $80,000 or hundreds of thousands of dollars to up their vocabulary to make things maybe less clear. And I think when someone, on a side note, I think in an ADHD way. So if I go too off topic, please just like reel me back to earth. My ADHD is like my ambitious, defiant, happy Danimal, attention dialed into a higher dimension. And I used to take some kind of pills to think that to wash that problem away, to realize that it actually wasn't a problem, it was my gift. Like being able to think about multiple things at the same time and be able to juggle them all is actually a gift from God. And so like shut that down would be really maybe honoring something that's not of me or of God. So side note there. And I guess we're getting to the point of, like I want to be able to, if I say something that you don't agree with, I just want you to tell me like, yeah, I don't agree with that, but I still love you. And vice versa, because I see a lot of people telling, oh, when you get old, you're going to look like this. Or when you have kids, this is going to happen to you. Or let's make it more real. Like when you graduate high school, then you're going to have to do this. Oh, when you graduate college, then you're going to have to do this. And the moment when I actually became conscious of like, wait a minute, that's not true. That doesn't have to be true for me. Why am I like nodding my head yes? The moment, and then I could start practicing by intervening and be like, wait a minute, are you talking about yourself or are you talking about me? Because nothing's going to happen. I'm going to get fitter if I become a dad. Like if I become a father, I'm going to be the fittest I've ever been. I don't want to hear your story about how I'm going to become fat because I have a child. Like people, I don't know if I'm a target because I've become more conscious. Just the other day, I walked into a coffee shop and this guy looks at me. He's like, so you have to like run 25 miles and get a suntan to look like that, or to be look like that, huh? And I'm like, well, because I don't run. I'm like, the suntan helps. I mean, I'll run here and there. I'm like, but I don't think marathon running is the key to a good physique. That's another side note. And then he's like, oh, wait till your metabolism kicks in. Well, are you talking about you or are you talking about me? And then what that sparked, we ended up having a super connected conversation talking about God, like all in this coffee shop, because I just I wouldn't support him arguing for his limitations. And when I did that, it was just crazy. The next thing he's like, oh, so you're going to be our savior. And I'm like, I believe I already have a savior. And it was just like, if you just stop bobbling your head yes with things you don't agree with and start expressing parts like, hey, I'm not sure about that part. Do you really believe what you just said? It opens up like Pandora's box to maybe higher perspectives. I
100% understand what you're talking about, because I'm like that as well. I like to challenge things. And when people tell me, you know, or when I first started my nutrition practice, what do you mean you're traveling around the world and you're still able to help people? You have to see them in person. No, I don't. Wait, where did that come from? And I like to challenge people's beliefs too. And sometimes people are ready for that and sometimes people aren't. But it's okay. We can still love them anyway. But one of the top 10 things that I've seen that make people unhappy is not taking risks. And that taking risks is challenging people, is doing something that might cause some friction. I don't agree with that. Or maybe people can bobblehead and they do agree with that, but then that's taking another risk, because like you said, then they might just go behind your back and that stirs up something else. But I like the thing that you said, that, and I say this to everybody, I say, what I'm saying to you right now about the situation and what I'm saying to your face to challenge you is it's nothing that I would have never said behind your back. And I don't speak behind people's back because I want to give them the opportunity to grow, knowing what I'm witnessing about them, about how they're limiting themselves, like you just said. And I would certainly hope to God that someone does the same thing for me. Hey, Diane, I noticed that what you just said, you just limited yourself. You're putting yourself here when you want to be out here. But did you hear what you just said? Oh, God, you know what? Thanks, Daniel. That's awesome. So I'd imagine that is your gift, your ADHD-ness that you otherwise put a big cloud over because society told you, no. You need to calm down. You need to calm down. Has that been was that a thing for you when you were growing up? Calm down. You need to calm down.
Well, I think inevitably, just because I was part of the public school system, it definitely was. Even from, I think, from like kindergarten, there was like even a forced nap time. So it was almost put on me at such an impressionable age that I sleep and I eat and I talk and I play when other people tell me it's okay. So I think that training from kindergarten to college inevitably like biased me. Like I was probably under the influence of that somewhat. And they may have not said something like be calm, but they might have been like, you're suspended or you have to leave this premises or you're out of this room. It was stuff maybe like that. Like
out of this room, out of this world.
I think they attempted to shame me in other ways because they probably knew like calm down was probably the last thing to tell me. Maybe it was just easier to write it off, like go to the principal's office.
I have two questions for you. Going back to what was it earlier? Well, the first question is what did you disagree with about what I said or what I was summarizing about what other people said? And then two, I want you still to go back to how you would define happiness.
Okay, cool. Thank you. You're bringing me back on track.
It's all good.
It's good. This is good teamwork.
I have ADD too.
Teamwork makes dream work. So, the second question. Let's go to the second one first to keep it lighter.
No, it's fine.
Which is, how do I define happiness, or how do you get to happiness?
What does happiness look like to you, as through your eyes, and then for other people, because they may be different. They may not be. And then the path to it.
Okay, cool. So I would say what happiness looks like to me is losing track of time, like forgetting that time and space exist. And that you can argue that maybe time and space don't. That's another conversation.
Down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. So, but when you are down that rabbit hole, actually, that's like the rabbit hole to happiness, I believe, when you can you forget time and space exist. That's what it looks like to me.
That's when I think of that, I think of what people would see on TV, like, oh, like nothing, like two people are coming in for the embrace and the kiss, and it's like I forgot that everything was happening around me. That's like that magical moment, space time thing. So cool. So losing track of time, and that would be
to make it less esoteric. I mean, maybe people have been even maybe like in the sense of like, wow, that was 2 hours. That felt like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
I bet you were pretty happy during that. Yeah. Those 2 hours that felt like 5 minutes.
Not wanting it to end.
And just like maybe the feeling of, on a physical level, like your energy being very balanced, like the energy on your body not being so focused in the head or so focused in the stomach area and not so focused in like the muscles, but just like flowing fast and free and like not with like fluidity, like very ubiquitous. It's not concentrated in one specific area. But if any area, maybe more so around here.
Yeah, the heart.
The heart, the throat, these little, what some describe as chakras right here.
Yeah. Okay. So anything else?
What some describe as the flow state, I think is very analogous or parallel to happiness when you black out, for instance. Like, have you ever done something and you're like, I don't know what I even just said, and people are like, "Well, that was awesome."
Yeah, like Will Ferrell on Wedding Crashers.
Yeah, that's a good example. Those guys definitely get in the flow state to make those scenes.
No, that was the one in college. I can't remember what that's called again.
I know what you're talking about.
Frank the Tank.
The Hangover? No, that's the other. No, that's a rabbit hole. So yeah, I think when you black out, like I think blacking out's a really good thing. I think like speaking on stage is a good opportunity for a lot of people to black out. That just seems to be a big fear for a lot of people. So and it's an opportunity that I've recently been given to start speaking on stages. And I noticed myself, I think the thing that I feel the most aligned with is not planning what I'm going to say, but just to let it really come up, because I'm easier to get in that blackout mode. And when I do that, then I think I believe I'm surrendered to God. And that's scary. But when I believe I'm surrendered to God is the closest I am to like true happiness and fulfillment.
Yep. and you're not trying to, you don't have an agenda for someone else, for your ego, for the purpose of the speech that you're intended to give, which is how we came into this interview. It's like, you left it all blank. And I went, did you mean to do that? And you're like, yep. Okay, cool. All right. Well, just this is the canvas, and we're painting it as we go. And it gets to be rainbows, or it could be black and white, whatever it is, whatever it will be. So, so I wrote down losing track of time and space, energy balance, and the flow state. Now, the path to happiness, because I wrote those down, and I'm thinking, okay, well, they've done studies on this, and they say that 13% of people in their jobs actually find purpose in their career. And so that means 87% of us are kind of just going through the motions, or working for someone else instead of our own passion or our own gifts and what we're supposed to do here on this planet. So it's quite difficult, I would imagine, to black out or be balanced energetically when you're doing something that you're not really enjoying, right?
Yeah. I think if you're not in joy, like in the state of joy, you're probably in the state of fear. Like you're being inferior to what you could be if you're not in the state of joy. I mean, being in the state of joy is very, usually comes from from playing. And I don't really know anything more pure than playing. I mean, when you look at a child that's newly born, or any puppy or any baby animal, or any animal, actually, I think like really young people and really old people that are closer to going back to the connection, and animals are really good examples of what's possible and how to live. And I love watching babies play.
Me too. And dogs. I love looking at
play.
Yeah.
Like blissed out.
Yeah, totally blissed out instead of blessed out instead of stressed out. Now, I interviewed Dr. Kat Meyer, guys. If you want to go listen to the power of play, she and I wear unicorn outfits and go ride boats and things, and that's our play. It's like, when are you able to be silly? And this is what I liked about you a lot, is that it seems as though you're living your dream, and you're inspiring other people to drop into theirs. So how are you doing that?
Yeah, these are all great questions. I know we're like bouncing all over the place, but I do, to keep it extra bouncy. When you said ticker. I think when you said you described the canvas. Sometimes I look at life as imagine like a wall that's a treadmill canvas that's just like going the speed of a day, and you're just creating what you want on that day. And literally, some people, they keep drawing. They found a picture they like, and they keep drawing that picture every day. It's like, I woke up this time yesterday, so I wake up this time today. Oh, and I did that one after I woke up, and I do that today. And all of a sudden it becomes the treadmill keeps turning, but the picture stays the same because they keep drawing the same picture. So I think realizing that may be also a key to feeling happy, is to realize that like the paintbrush is in your hand. I mean, it's almost what every self-development or spiritual or psychological text would describe, all in different words, is you're responsible. Like you're choosing, like life could be described as choice. And the paintbrush is in your hand, and the treadmill canvas is moving, so you don't have to keep even drawing the same picture that you were just drawing. Just because you were drawing a chair, or just because you were drawing a career, doesn't mean you have to keep drawing that. Actually, there might be all of a sudden you were struck with divinity to show you, there's a whole nother thing, and you can let what come through you and create a whole new picture. And like, wow, who would have thought? Like, I think people love being surprised. And that's, I also think, a key to happiness. I personally love. I'm like, whoa, what? How did I get here? What? I never expected this one. So I think letting go of expectations, one way not to be happy is probably to have a high expectations of how things are going to turn out.
Of yourself and others.
Yeah. So that's how we used to, well, we still do. We sell our retreats sometimes with the motto, expect anything and experience everything. And we don't actually give anyone itineraries, other than like a rough idea that, well, there will be some really deep, raw honesty. And if you don't want to be honest, this retreat's probably not for you. But everything else, we're not going to tell you.
That's cool. So like, what? There's no itinerary. What about the control? And like, when am I going to have private time? And when? I hate not knowing. I can't stand not knowing. Dude, the best thing I ever did for my ego, Daniel, is, and I needed this. I knew I needed this because I played pro soccer and I was like, defense, and I was defending everything, and I was always strong, and I'm strong holding everything, and everything was predictable, and I was a financial planner, and it was all about money and saving and okay, I want to be irresponsible now, and I just want to get the hell out of here, and I want to go travel, and I want to have no phone, I want to have no itinerary, I want to have no clue, I want to get lost. And I went to India with a backpack, and I went, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. People are like, oh my God, Diane, you're going to get killed, you're going to get shot, you're going to, no. I'm like, your story is scary, dude. Mine's got some hope in it. Like, I'm just going to go do what I'm going to go do, and to be taken where I'm going to be taken. And my ego is going to get the shit kicked out of it. Because I want control. I want the timetables. I want the trains to go this certain way. And oh, damn it, the train is 3 hours late. Oh my God. Whoa, listen to that voice. Whoa, that's kind of scary. Okay, well, I'm just going to sit here and read my Kindle. I got my little app on my phone. I'm going to read that. I'm going to take some notes. The train is still late. Just, really? Okay, so just get used to things not going your way. That's the best way for things to go your way, right? Is just to be present. So you said something there. It was about how the two words that I hear people say the most that just drive my spirit nuts. Maybe it's not my spirit. Maybe it's my ego. I don't know. But it's driving something nuts inside of me. That's a good
question to continuously ask.
Yeah, it's always a question, right? What's
going on?
Whose voice is this? It's when I hear people say, I can't. And I go, what? Buzzkill. So when you hear people that you're leading in these world-class, awesome, beautiful destination retreats or working with clients locally, wherever they are, when you hear people say, I can't, how do you respond?
That's a good question. I can't part. I almost wonder, because we, at most of our retreats, we set the context so strong right off the bat that people all of a sudden start to get in the state of observing themselves. And I also think when you were discussing how you were painting a nice picture of how you observe yourself. I think observing ourselves is another key to getting to that state of happiness. When you were asking, just to make so we're all answering all the questions all at once by asking more questions and more considerations. I think observing ourselves is another key to a lot of awesomeness. It's just like watching yourself, because then you can start questioning who's watching, who's doing watching. But I can't. I think it probably reminds, like, why does it drive you crazy? I have a theory that probably because you, as much as you have rationalized, I'm imagining this, you can let me know how this sits or not, but this is true for me. As much as I've rationalized, at least it was true for me in the past truth, that I can do whatever, that I'm capable of so much. There are still things I haven't convinced myself that I can do. Like, I haven't just ran down the street and started flying like a bird yet. So someday. Yeah, and I do fly. I sometimes I wonder if I have it even better, because I can just get in another, like, metal bird that flies me across the world, and I can just sit back and watch movies and use the internet and have a beer and, like, cuddle with my wife, and I don't have to do any of the flying or worrying about it. So it does sound like an upgrade.
You're gonna hang glide, you can do that too.
Yeah, but I think there's things that I've never met anyone that really believes they can do anything. I mean, I personally never met anyone. So I think that does remind us of, like, that layer that we may have not even gotten to, because we were so, which I think is a great thing, is so busy considering what can we do. I mean, that's like a much cooler question in my opinion. What can I do? Let's do it. Like, what can I do? And I think a lot of people get so, like, buried under can'ts that they start to believe the stories. And I would probably, I don't know if I have a certain protocol when someone says I can't do something, but I imagine I offer some sort of perspective, or even, like, give them a look. At this point, a lot of my context is created like that people are almost it's kind of a cool reputation to have, but people are almost expecting me to be, like, super honest or, like, say something super controversial. So now I have this cool, like, pressure to live up to. Like, I'm going to be that guy that things are not going to be normal.
Don't be so easy on me, dude.
Things are not going to be normal tonight. Daniel's here. Anything could happen.
I think when I hear people say I can't, it's more of a spiritual, no, you totally can, because and there's also maybe a little ego in it, because my little girl self wanted to do everything, and my parents had a hard time keeping me down. I was like I was all over the place. I wanted to go climb trees and be everywhere, and don't tell me what to do. And so the I can't led into, okay, let me challenge myself. I can totally, no, you can't swim with sharks. You can't go scuba diving and swim with bull sharks. You're going to get eaten. No, you can. You can totally do that. Okay?
Yeah, and that's cool. I want to make sure that asking what can't you do will sometimes lead you to what you can do. And there's just different, I think everyone's at different stages. Sometimes it is good to focus on what can't you do, and you'll realize, wait a minute, that was a big, bold story. I'm happy I let go of that one.
Yeah. Yeah, because I hear a lot of people say, okay, I'm in a marriage, or let's say they have dreams to travel the world, but they have a marriage and they're not happy with their marriage and they're with kids. I can't possibly leave this marriage until the kids are 18. I just can't. I hear that one a lot, and I'm going, wait a second, why can't you? Well, because it's not right. The kids, we have to be there for the kids until then. The kids shouldn't see us apart. Well, wait a second, but the kids get to observe you totally unhappy and not kissing and arguing. So what do you mean you can't? So I don't like to see people put limitations on themselves. And so how do you inspire people to think outside the box so that they can start liberating themselves to follow the dreams?
Yeah, I think it's a very probably similar strategy to what you're saying there, is asking them, like, wait a minute, you can't do, why can't you go swim with sharks? Actually, you can do it in a cage, you can do it in metal suits, you can do, I've seen plenty of video footage. Like, why can't you do it? Is there something wrong with you? There's something that I don't know about you that you know about yourself that's preventing you from being able to swim in the ocean?
Sharks love me for food.
I think something about just when someone says something, to maybe question it. Even you can, when someone really is complaining about something, you can even flip it on them, which I don't really agree with using the words like always and all the time. But asking, is that always the case? And is what I hear a lot that people doing is they keep repeating the past stories so much that they repeat past stories in the present, and because they're repeating them in the present, they become their present reality. And and this goes back to like repainting the same story. And I'm not sure, it's a great question, like, because I think it starts questioning the difference between like psychology and spiritual, like, and emotions, and why do people want to hold on to these stories? And I imagine it's something to do with control. Like, they want to feel like they're in control. Even there's a lot of power in patheticness. Like, when you can tell the same pathetic story over and over again, that's like a great way to get attention. It's a great way. I mean, if you go down, you can, let's say, I believe Tony Robbins, for instance, has this idea, and I'm not sure if it's probably, I love how we give each other credit. Like, some people, that's
right?
Another whole thing. Like, most, like, all new age stuff is just a refinement and distillation of all the oldest ages, oldest ages wisdom. So why do we want to write it off as new age, or why do we have to quote this guy in this? But anyways, there's 6 apparently human needs. Maybe you've heard about this. One's like being security, one being insecurity, one being significance. It's very important to feel important. One being love and connection, and then finally the spiritual needs would be growth and contribution. So I think people may, and those, it might be even the order of like the vibrational frequency, for instance, if we believe in that. And I think a lot of people are stuck on the security and the significance. A lot of people be like swimming in those waters and forgetting that the waters get even deeper and nicer if you keep going. You don't have to stay at such a shallow level.
Ooh, the shallowness. That's what percentage of ourselves are we really presenting ourselves as? And I that's like my new question. I don't even know where it came from. I think it was when I was interviewing JP, and I thought to myself, what percentage of myself was really me being myself in this interview? And it's like, I'm such a numbers person. I was a financial planner, and everything in, science says that this, and everything's all calculated. So I'm like, what percentage of me was I really being me in this interaction? And why wasn't I expressing my whole self? Like, what was I holding myself back from? Is it this fear of something, the security, like you just mentioned, those six needs, right? You said, or was it 7?
Yeah, 6. Okay. Or,
yeah. Well, you kind of like group.
Someone else, maybe Deepak Chopra has 7, and Tony Robbins has 6, and Marianne Williamson has 5. Who knows?
Yeah. So there's a need for all of them. So it's, people also like to label things as good and bad. So when you hear, do you ever label things as good and bad, or do you just not label anything.
Yeah, I've definitely been, I mean, a lot of people would describe me as delusionally optimistic, which I'm cool with, because I imagine that I imagine anyone that doesn't think they're delusional in some ways is maybe just deeper in a level of delusion. So yeah, I have experienced delusions, and I err on the side of optimism. I err on the side of like positivity.
Delusional
So
denial.
What'd you say?
Delusional denial.
So I have made it an art of like alchemizing perspectives. So yeah, you probably won't catch me. I mean, I don't want to say never, and because I don't want to put too much energy to it, but let's just put it this way, that I've been known to be very good, even for myself, and maybe this is an identity that I want to live up to. Speaking of the security, I've been known to be really powerful at alchemizing somewhat perceived negative situations to like some very positive ones. And I think some people are more intrigued on that facet of me than by almost all other parts of me that they've met.
So simplifying that, you're spinning things that otherwise would perceive as negative into something positive.
Yeah, it's kind of some similarities to like stoicism. But
what's stoicism?
Just basically seeing like there's even a book called "The Obstacle Is the Way," and it's based on the Stoic philosophy of seeing things not as good or bad. But I still think sometimes that can slip into a level of apathy a bit easier than my personal perspective. For me, I'm not saying that for everyone, but so yeah, I think it's really cool to see. Can you find like God and everything? Can you find like the magic and everything? Can you find the joy and everything? Like how grateful can I be is a great way, I believe, to also tap into what some describe as happiness. Just seeing how grateful I can be for what I have. And it's really incredible that's a game that can never end.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's something that's developed inside of me during all of these interviews too, is like certain things just went to total shit in my life. It was like my computer went down, my phone went down, both my assistants were down at the same time. Then another one of my assistants got held at gunpoint yesterday. And it was just like all these things that I could be like, oh, woe is me, everything's going wrong with this project. It's like, but I'm just going, wow, look at all these hurdles. This is pretty cool. Just to bring happiness to people, that's pretty sweet. Oh, what else?
Yeah, and that's where I believe, if just to get even more honest, I believe that's a potential spiritual realm, in the sense that when it seems as when someone's really tapping into a stronger connection to the Creator, that sometimes weird energies start popping up. Popping up out of the woods, start popping out of the caves. Like,
okay, yes.
So I look at those, and that's what I believe. It's like, oh, nice. Like, look at these. Why is that person being so hateful to me? Why is that person, what happened? Wait a minute. They're not being hateful. That's like my egoic way of describing it. Their energy is like, they're letting go of something. It's almost like some could describe as exorcisms.
Whoa, what a trip that you just said that.
Yeah, like sometimes let's just put it this way. We did a New Year's Evolution Fest on a company that my friend, I created a mastermind called 10 All In, a guy named Frank J. We created a company
10 All In. Yeah,
10 All In. And from that, we created a company called International Tribe Design. And we hosted an event on New Year's called New Year's Evolution Fest in Kauai. Some of the most highest like vibration, the collective group of like 50 plus, there was like over 100 throughout the whole week. But 100 plus people just like so vibrating at this frequency of just like, yes, like gratefulness, yes, like in the spirit, like walking by faith in love. And with the moment we left that property, for the first time, the moment I left the property, all of a sudden there was this guy at the grocery store that literally looks like Men in Black, kind of zombie exorcism style. I'm like, just getting super angry at one of our guys. And I'm looking at this guy, I'm like, whoa. And he's like, yeah, I'm just holding space for him. This happens sometimes. And at that moment I realized, I'm like, wow. Yeah, when you're at a certain, some describe as a frequency, or if you're at a certain connection with God or holding a certain consciousness, some people let go of energy in your presence.
Oh my God.
That's what I imagine.
If I could like pause right now and just go meditate on that, I would, but we're recording. And so like my authentic self wants to just go lay down and just let that sit, because that exact thing, as the more that I've evolved, the better I handle my surroundings, the more present I am, and the more loving I could be for other people, the more I take care of myself, the more I've noticed, what the hell are these weird energies that are coming out of this woodworks? I'm going, just hold space for them. It's okay. You're strong enough now. You can do that. And you're not going to take it weird or wrong. You're not going to judge it. Just be there for them and let them go through it. And I've been getting a lot of these messages from people going, thank you for holding space for me. And I'm like, what? Where am I doing? I wasn't even talking to you in the last week. They're like, you were just doing it from a distance. Whoa. Okay, cool. All right. And I'm sure I'll need you to do that for me one day. So thank you. You know, so that awareness, as out there as it sounds, it is energy. And that's the coolest vibration that we can be, is to be strong for other people that don't even realize that we're doing it for them.
It's like a trail marker. Like, yep, you're on the path of least traveled. This is the way, so you can experience, but others won't. Because when you're really just walking, if you just, like, why do I walk into a coffee shop and this guy starts telling me about my metabolism so we can have this conversation? Why do we walk into that grocery store and this crazy stuff happens? Why? Yeah, it's like it's just the pattern is too strong to ignore.
It is. And when you say it, and I'm experiencing it too, it could just be that we're more aware of it, and other people, maybe they're experiencing it, maybe they're not, but this is the awareness that JP ended our interview with. You'd be more aware of everything, the way you feel. You know, are you holding tight to your jaw? You're squeezing your butt cheeks. Like, are you holding, what's going on? What are the sensations of your body? And you said that same thing, this story. I think I even put this somewhere of my writing for this summit, that I walked into a coffee shop just like you, and I'm very fit. So I walk in and this girl's like, wow, I hope you don't think this is lesbian of me, but you have a great body. And I was like, oh, thanks. You know, I love to take care of myself. I love exercising. And she's like, I wish I could exercise. And I went, what? Wait, my face probably looked like that because I'm such a literal person. I'm like, what do you mean you wish you could? I mean, you don't have a crutch. Your legs look fine. Like, what do you mean you wish you could? She's like, oh, well, I work a lot and stuff. And I'm like, you what? My face is still doing this. Like, but you have total control of your day. Do you have kids? No. Well, what's stopping you? It's like, and so it led to this. And she was, the person that was checking me out. So I couldn't get deep with her. But I just said, girlfriend, I teach yoga. Come to my class sometime. So I try to empower her. But it's like, what is this bullshit you're throwing out there? Where is this coming from? So I think that some of us get to that point where we're done listening to our own excuses, and people bring theirs to us too. And maybe they realize that we're going to be the one that calls them out on their bullshit, and so they can follow their dream. And I see that in you a lot, which is great. And
I think without those, life would be much more bland. I think we have those opportunities, or what some call obstacles, what I call opportunities, or what some call stumbling blocks, I call stepping stones, or what some call problems, I call challenges. Yeah. For a reason. Otherwise, I just imagine if everything went the way you wanted, and then you went want to want, and then you start getting to ask yourself that question, wait a minute, did I want to want more than I wanted to get? Or is there really a balance of both? And wanting is part of the dream. Like, being able to have that desire is a major component of the dream that we're living.
Yeah. Two last little things I wanted to ask you about, but are quite big. The use of our words and being impeccable with our words, and being very careful about our words and what they speak to our spirit. And then the second one I wanted to ask you about, because I heard you talking about it in one of your videos, is about money, because money is perhaps the biggest obstacle to happiness as people define today.
Okay. Now, so before the money, what was the first one?
Is being impeccable with our words. So if I say something to you like, I'll never, I always, these words that can block us, that can literally trick us into not doing something.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is really what we touched on earlier, is observing yourself and like listening to yourself speak, and realizing that those words are authoring the book of your life, and that if you do speak something, to have faith that whatever choice you've made was the right choice, so you can be where you're at. There's no reason. I mean, there's no reason to regret, but there's no reason to regret either too. Maybe regret's part of the process. That's fine. But I think when you start going down this vortex of like regret, or do I not regret, like this idea, just have faith. I've chosen to have faith that every choice I've made is the right choice for me to be in this moment right here. And this moment right here is the dream of life. So am I living an awesome dream, or have I let go of my nightmares? And that's why this is the way it is.
Well said.
So yeah, if you are exploring, I do think the best way is like first to confess. I think, I mean, I know maybe the question you were talking about, the top 3 tips, I do think there's so much power in confession. So do a lot of religions. But the secret of not having secrets is profound. When you can let go of hiding, the creativity that comes from that is quite profound. I imagine that's like what a lot of the most well-known artists and musicians and public figures ever knew, was that like, wow, when I let go of caring about what others thought of me, it seemed like they cared what I thought so much more. And I've learned that. I'm like, the less I care what others think of me, the more they care about what I think. Isn't that strange?
It's totally true. And Mark Manson, I like him. He's a great writer. He says, give less f***s. Give less about what other people think about you in the judgmental sense. I love that one.
Yeah, and I think letting go of that and stop crafting all your words and just start speaking like that God wants to live through you, and that the word becomes flesh, like speaking in that way. They're like, wow, here I am. I'm writing the script of my life. I bet I'm going to say good things today. And if this is not at all to be delusional about past feelings or traumas that you've experienced. I'm not saying burying that. I am saying, though, speak about them in the past. Mm-hmm. Speak about them in the past, like confess them to your brothers and sisters, and speak about them in the past, because as you're speaking them, they're already in the past. Even if I was feeling shameful right now, I was feeling shameful because I can't even speak as fast as my feelings are changing. So you might as well just speak about it in an accurate way.
True.
And if what you want in your life, speak about it in the present tense, and it'll keep happening from my perspective so far.
It's so crazy. Like, I think about if I interviewed you a year ago, would I have been able to keep up with the wisdom that you're sharing? I don't think so. I hope that people can connect with what you're saying now, because I can for the most part, but it's pretty deep. But it's awesome. It's like there's different levels, different layers, different chapters that people are different points in their lives that they're at. Are they ready to hear this? So I think that yours is one of those ones where it's like, listen to it when you've got some time over the weekend to journal and just observe. Yours is similar to JP's, but I think in a different way. You guys have such similar things to say, but in different colors. So speaking to money to happiness, money as a tool, money versus giving too much power away to money. How do you counsel people on that?
Well, I would definitely say that if you're trading your time for money, you are probably under a mass confusion. Oh. You're part of a mass confusion if you're trading your time for money.
Gotta go to work.
So if you're thinking that these representations of some sort of mysterious, I mean, I'm fascinated by money and what it represents, like the energy of exchange, like the economy. It's incredibly dynamic. But if you're trading what can be argued that your most valuable non-renewable asset in this life is your time, and you're trading that for these paper bills that really have no inherent value, then you might want to consider what that means. So, and that might be one of those things of what not to do when you're asking maybe ways they're not the fastest way to happiness. Now, I think money is a brilliant tool of humanity, and it's like really genius how we've come up with this system, because I can't just the value of a massage might be different than the value of having a consultation, which might be different than the value of having surgeries, which might be different than the value of getting a haircut. Money is this brilliant invention to sort of make it more objective. So in my opinion, it's like a representation. And what I would trust if someone is really living life in the context of happiness is that it's a representation of the energy, the gift they're giving, their gift. They basically, what I believe is that we can tap into our gift. What comes easiest to us that other people seem to be a bit challenged by, combined with what sparks the most joy in us. There's probably a gift for you. And if it scares you a bit to pursue it and it seems exciting at the same time, it's probably even closer to a real good, valuable gift you have to give. make that gift as valuable as you can, because it comes easy. That seems like maybe there's some sort of divine purpose. Maybe you were shaped and molded in this way by the grand puppeteer that wanted you to walk down this path of life, and embrace that. Have fun with it. If you're that good at it, make it as best as you can and give it to as many people as possibly you can. And I'm pretty sure like financial success will be unavoidable. But there's just a lot of weird stories about money that keep getting spread around and I think it's kind of a scary topic in a lot of ways, but I think like 10+%, around 10% of the world probably has about 90% of the money. And that's a little strange. And I think actually one of the best ways to hold back the 90% of even questioning that is building confusion into the way they communicate, because those people there in the 10%, I guarantee you, especially the top 0.01%, know the power of their words. They know that they are co-creating their reality by the words they're speaking and how they're speaking to others. And it's probably advantageous for them to have less competition, or even, I think the world has gone from a place of like maybe dependence to codependence to independent. Now there's a lot of people stuck in the state of independence because it felt better than dependence or codependence. Right. So like, yeah, but screw it. I don't need these people's help. They're so caught up in their stories and their cants, and I don't even need them. I'll just do my own thing. I can even leverage them to my advantage. I'll make them my employee, and I'll put them under a ploy. Like, it's people brag about being put under a ploy. And I'll get them to brag about it. But that's because, in my opinion, the people that are in that position are so conscious of their communication. And I believe some of them they lost themselves in the path that they found themselves. And then the higher state of independence is interdependence, where we can show everyone the power of language, and that the word becomes flesh, and that there is something spiritual coming through that potentially, and that we can be all on the same team and like function with the main emphasis being unconditional love. And money is just like a fun game. Money's like, it's like Monopoly. Yeah, it's Monopoly. Have fun with it. Like, it's fun. It's like a sport.
Yeah. Like a video game. Yeah. It's refreshing to talk with someone who, I'm myself pretty much for the most part all the time anyway. I don't know about all the time, but for the most part, I've been a lot of myself. Being with you and sharing with you, I feel I can be myself. I hope that you guys listening to Daniel felt like you can start to step more into yourself. Have the courage to be yourself, have the courage to be vulnerable. When I think of being vulnerable and being in the moment, there's been times lately, Daniel, where I'm just like, I just want to just take my clothes off and run down the beach naked and just be totally myself in confession. And I don't mean that from a sexual way. I just mean it like we were born naked. It's like, I don't like to hide anymore. I don't like hiding. It just feels better just to, like your shirt says, be real. And if it's me being real and me showing emotion that I'm having a bad day, I'm being real, but I'm not holding back. And I think it's so tough that a lot of us feel like we have to hold back because we'll get fired from our job if we show emotion, or we will get broken up with because we're being too sensitive, or our family will think we're crazy because we are sharing something that is radically honest that seems a bit judgmental. So I think, to summarize for you and we could both summarize, but for you, I wrote several notes about that. Losing track of time, just be more present. That's your number one. Number two, if you are complaining about something, you're the victim, you're the problem. So being aware of self, being more in tune with who you are. And then also, don't regret, to just realize that everything that has happened up until this point has been perfect in divine order for you to experience the path that you came here for. I think those are my top threes for you. You can summarize them otherwise. I would invite you to, if you'd like.
Yeah, it's always cool to hear how other people hear what you say. And that's also actually another reminder to not, once again, from going like to the beginning of the interview, not to own what other people say about you. Because I've said so many things to people, and then they summarize what I said, and I'm like, whoa, that was your summary? That wasn't my message at all. How did you get So, but yeah, there was a lot of things. I think it's cool to see how you received that. And I imagine that I gave like a gift, and I received a gift by giving a gift, and I received your gift, and you received a gift by giving your gift. And it's a cool place to be able to be connected with someone that I've met for the first time over a video chat, and to feel that there's something that beyond our location or even beyond our words that's connecting us, and that's a beautiful thing. It feels very loving and nurturing.
Absolutely. It's presence all around. Presence with the TS and
about the money thing. I was going to say, if you want to know if you have a money problem, is if you can't give it away.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I got to hold it all tight because it's lack. I earned this. This is not yours.
Yeah, if you have a problem giving money away, then you might have a money problem.
Yeah, totally. So Daniel, you got something amazing coming out, the Breaking Normal book. What's that about?
Yeah, it's a lot about what we talked about here, just these topics of not necessarily buying into the limitations of the collective consciousness that we're moving beyond, and more realizing of the power of certain exercises and looking for the good and the God in everything, and holding ourselves accountable and observing ourselves, and realizing that, if we share the things that we don't want to, it might be what connects us the most. And we can release into peace. And it might be one of the most neglected forms of love right now is being able to love someone that you disagree with. And I even felt that, I felt the desire just to test the waters, because we talked so much about God, and I was thinking about happiness. But for me, I have questions about religion, and I brought up the idea about Jesus earlier. But for me, I do believe there's a part of me that I'm wondering, is this an egoic thing? Because I want to make sure that my bases are covered, and growing up in a religious background. But I've found a lot of peace and happiness in accepting Jesus as my savior. And I feel like, especially in the Christian culture, that that doesn't have to be what decides. If someone doesn't believe that we can actually love them even more. And that's what I learned from studying Jesus. That when you find someone that disagrees with you, or you find someone that's acting all funky all of a sudden because good things are happening in your life, or as Jesus demonstrated, if you find someone that wants to kill you, then hey, really? Really? What's going on? How can I love you the best through this? And I've found a lot of peace in that, and I just want to express that in the best way that I can. And it seems right now in this, maybe some would describe as an emotional dark age, that what serves the collective the most is honesty right now. There's just so much power with images on social media. There's so much power in that right now. And a lot of people are giving a lot of power to it. But what's going to really be powerful are when people start stepping up to the plate and actually showing everything they don't want to show on camera, especially the people in power. And then we'll find out it's wow, what was most personal is actually most universal, and then we all look a little different to tell each other apart. And then, wow, that person is Donald Trump, whoever it is, Barack Obama, whoever the person of the day that you want to hate is. They are so similar to you.
Yeah.
They are so similar.
They've got problems. They've got fears. They poop. They have family marital issues. They have hate. They have ego. They have heart. They have tears. Yeah, come on.
And instead of asking who's right, start asking what's the truth? What's the truth? And all I found is love, and that's what I bring up, this unconditional love. That
always. It's
what else? What else? Everything else seems. If I'm not unconditionally loving people, then I feel like I'm distracting myself.
If it's not love, it's not truth. Yeah. Exactly. Daniel, thank you so much for this liberating lesson for the day. I love the 3 takeaways. There's way more than that, all embedded in that. Thank you for your ADD authenticity. Thank you just for everything, and for showing up and sharing with me today, and for doing it in JP's corner.
Yeah, and I would, anybody viewing this, and it's something in yourself and myself, is when did you when did you potentially write someone off? When was there, what makes this video less shareable for you? And if you find what that is, then there might be a growth opportunity for you. Was it because this guy is wearing suspenders? Was it because he's drinking a beer? Was it because he talked about Jesus? Which one? And whatever it is, really start diving deep into that. And it's probably an indication of maybe how you're disconnecting from a lot of the world. And that's not a problem. That's an opportunity. It's wow, that's a big room for life to get that much better.
I love it. Next time I'm going to show up with purple hair. This, the nails are as far as it goes. So judge me. What's going on inside of you? I'm a lesson for you.
It's a fun game.
It is. It's totally
lessons for each other.
Yes, I love it. I love the challenges. Bring it on. All right, my friend, go have a beautiful evening with JP, I think, is there, and the gang, and we'll be sharing this soon. So thanks again for showing up authentically, and you guys follow him for all the beautiful blessings he's got for us, radical honesty, and some awesome retreats he's got around the world too. So cool. Thank you again so much for being here with me today, Daniel.
And thank you. And my radical honesty, I think my friend who wrote that book, his name is Brad Blanton, and that's trademarked. And I was like, I don't want to take credit for the trademark phrase, but I do really appreciate what you said. And I really, what a fun interview. I feel much better than I did even before doing this interview.
Me too.
And I feel like I've gained a lot, and I learned a lot about myself and you, and about how this world works. And it seems to be that much more beautiful because of it. So thank you.
Yep. So refreshing to meet people like ourselves, of ourselves, and challenge ourselves.
Heart. The heart.
Heart to happiness, guys. Heart to happiness. All right. Love you all. Have a beautiful day. Take the lessons in this. Go meditate on them and give yourself some time. Be patient. Accept. Love yourself. Bye.